Hello viewers, this is Arun Kishore and welcome to my channel Learn Deep. So in my previous video I mainly focused on how to take input and how to display output in Python. In this video I am going to focus mainly on conditional statements and looping. See, let me say this thing for you. Whatever program you write in Python, nearly 70% of Python programming will surely contain conditional statements and looping. So it is really important to know how to use conditional statements, how to use looping, and where to use these two. Actually, it is like an ocean, and I can't explain you everything in the single video. So what I will do is, I will just make a brief note on conditional statements and looping of Python in this video. In my next coming videos, I will mainly focus on few examples, like we have few types of numbers like Armstrong number, Adam number. I will be writing out the code for Armstrong number and Adam number. I will explain you how to write the code also. Also, we have very important concept like patterns, which is the main focus for many campus recruitment exams. So we'll write various patterns also, and if possible, I'll try to add few more tougher problems based on conditional statements and looping in my next coming videos. So as far as this video is concerned, I'll just give a brief introduction of what exactly conditional statements are, what exactly looping in Python does, right? So let's get started. I'll first discuss about conditional statements. So conditional statement, what exactly a conditional statement is? Conditional statement is a control flow statement in Python which is going to affect the flow of execution of program. The basic conditional statement in Python is simple if. So let me write all this for you. So the basic conditional statement in Python is simple if statement. So what simple if statement works is, you will have a condition. If the condition is satisfied, the remaining statements which are present inside the simple if will get executed, and the statements which are outside the if are executed in an ordinary process, right? So whatever the statements which you write in simple if will only execute if the condition is true, and the syntax of simple if statement is if followed by condition. The boolean value, that means either 1 or 0, 1 in the sense true, 0 in the sense false. Based on the boolean value returned by the condition, it decides whether to execute the statements inside the if or not. So there comes a big problem. How the simple if statement know which statements are present inside the if block and which statements are present outside the if block? See, the main thing in Python is giving indentation. When we write if and condition, we'll indent all the statements which are present inside the if condition by a single tab space. So whatever the statements which are written with the same indentation will be considered as the statements inside the if. So here in this scenario, the simple if condition contains statement 1, 2 and 3 inside the if and statement 4 is outside the if. So when my program is getting executed, it is not necessary to satisfy the condition to execute the statement number 4. Whether the condition satisfies or whether the condition fails, statement 4 is executed anyway. But statement 1, 2 and 3 will only be executed if the condition is satisfied. So let me write a basic program to illustrate this simple if. So I'll just take an example of printing hello world. So I'll take input from the user, choice is equal to int of input of. So if my user enters 1, I'm going to print hello world. Else I'll only print exclamation mark, right? If choice double equals to 1, print hello world. I will end it with a space. No matter if the choice is 1 or 0, I'll print exclamation mark. Okay. So now let us see how this program will execute. So if I write my input as 0, I'll only get exclamation mark because choice is not equals to 1, it is equal to 0. So if I write choice double equal to 1, it is going to return false. So the if condition is not executed. Again, if I run this program, if I give it 1, I'm going to get hello world because the condition is true. Once you get the concept of simple if, then understanding the different conditional statements is very easy. So till now what we have discussed, a conditional statement will only print the values inside the if condition only when the condition is true. So the second conditional statement is if else statement. So in this if else statement, we are going to have if followed by condition. Here it will be some statements s1, s2 and so on. And these statements will be followed by an else block which also contains some statements. Okay. So what is going to happen here is first it will check for condition present inside the if. The condition is satisfied, then the if block gets executed and the control is shifted to the statements which are written after the else block. Like some statements s5 and s6 are written then. If the condition is true, statement 1 and 2 are going to be executed and the control is shifted to statement 5 and statement 6. But if the condition present inside the if is failed, if the condition inside the if is failed, then the control is going to be shifted to else block. No matter what are the blocks what are the statements which are present inside the else block will get executed and the control is then shifted to s5 and s6. So instead of writing, I'll just demonstrate a small program. I'll take choice double equal to 1. I'll print you entered 1, else I'll print you didn't entered 1. So what is going to happen if I enter 1? My choice is double equals to 1, so I am going to get output you entered 1. If I didn't enter 1, I am going to get you didn't enter 1. So let's just quickly verify and skip to the next statement. I enter 1, get you entered 1. If I enter other than 1, going to say you didn't enter 1, right? So the third conditional statement we have is else if ladder. Else if ladder is also one of the most important conditional statement. If you have knowledge of any other programming language, then you write else if statement like if condition followed by some blocks, else and if followed by condition, some blocks and then else. But in Python we didn't have any statement like else if. In Python we have elif statement which is going to elif statement which is going to perform the same operation as else if. And it is the point to be noted here is else if ladder will have if followed by at least one else if condition, and writing else is not a mandatory. So when we are going to use this else if ladder is we have many conditions and one of the condition is true. So let me say I got some x number of marks. If my marks are greater than 70, I have first class. If it is greater than 50, I have second class. If it is greater than 40, I have third class. And if it is less than 40, I am failed. So here I have 4 different conditions: first class, second class, third class and fail. And according to my marks, only one condition from the above will be true. This can be implemented by using simple if statement also. But the problem here is if my first simple if statement is true, the remaining if statements are also executed because these if statements will not have a interconnection between these statements. So let me show by using a small program which I discussed now. I'll remove this. My choice is greater than 70. Let us consider choice as marks. My choice is greater than 70. I got first class. If choice greater than 50, print second class. If choice greater than 40, print third class. Else print. Okay, if I write else here, I will be having a big problem because this else is associated with this if. So if this if fails, then this else will be executed. So I'll write if choice less than or equals to 40. Okay, now I'll execute this one and I'll directly give my marks as 90. So marks are 90. As 90 is greater than 70, first class is printed. Then it goes for second if condition and it is going to check whether my marks are greater than 50 or not. Here 90 satisfied the condition greater than 50. So second class is also printed followed by third class. So the problem here is once my statement becomes true, instead of exiting from the program, it is going to check each and every if statement present after it. So to eliminate this one, we need to complicate the condition present inside the if, or we can use else if ladder. Complicating in the sense, my marks are greater than 70 here. So I got first class. If I got second class, it implies that my marks are less than 70 and greater than 50. So I have to write choice less than 70 and choice greater than 50. So likewise, for every condition, I have to implement this one by using a logical operator. Instead of doing this, I can also write elif and elif. So when we are writing elif, the last condition, we can write it with else also. So if I execute the same program and if I give the same marks as 90, the output I am going to get is only first class. I think now you get the clear point of why we are not using simple if statements and why we are using else if ladder. Simple if statements will not have an interconnection between them, whereas else if ladder, one statement if it gets executed, one if condition if it gets executed, it will not check for any other if condition or else block. It will directly transfer the control outside the else if ladder. And the last one is nested if else. Nested if else is not that much complicated. If my marks are greater than 50, so greater than 70, I will print first class. Again, if my marks are greater than 75, I will also print a distinction. Right? So I'm going to check two conditions. I will check the second condition only if the first condition is satisfied. In this case, I am going to write an if statement inside the another if statement. This is called as nested if statement. Clear? So in my future videos, I'll clearly discuss about each and every conditional statement with an example. Not such an absurd examples which I'm writing now. I'll discuss few basic and important examples which are helpful in campus recruitment. So I'll stop about conditional statements here and I'll explain concepts of looping. So in Python we have mainly two loops. They are for and while. So before explaining for loop, I need to explain one good function which comes handy in for loop. Without that function, actually we can implement without that function also, but most of the for loops we write, we will definitely use that function, and that function is called as range. So range is a function which we use in Python for loop. So what range will do is, I'll just open the documentation quickly and I'll revise the concept of range. Range has three parameters, out of which entering one parameter is mandatory. The remaining two it will take inbuiltly. So I'll tell by saying the documentation. So the documentation for the range is, the syntax for the range is range of start, stop, comma, step. Here writing the stop is too much important because inbuiltly the starting value is 0. Unless and until you alter the starting value, for loop always starts from 0. Stop value we have to specify, and the step is very important. In C programming, we write print statement like this: for I is equal to 0. We are specifying I is equal to 0, I is equal to 5, is equal to 10, right? If we don't specify, it will take a garbage value. But then in Python, starting value for the for loop is always 0. And the second condition is stop. We are specifying like I less than or equal to n, I less than or equal to 20 in C programming, right? So the bound, the upper bound we must specify in for loop. And the step is nothing but incrementation of the loop counter. So we'll write I plus plus, I plus is equal to 2. The same thing we are going to write here. Inbuiltly, the step will be 1. So every time the loop executes, the counter value will be incremented by 1. So this is what range function does. And the most important thing here is the stop value will not be considered. So if I write range of 5, I am going to get 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So in order to get nth value also to be executed, I need to specify the loop till n plus 1. So the for loop syntax will be like this: for counter variable in range of starting value comma stopping value. Here stopping value is excluded, and incrementation, which we call as step. So I'll take a basic example of printing 1 to n numbers using for loop. So first I'll print 0 to n numbers, and then I'll print 1 to n numbers. So n I also declare statically, right? So for I in range of, so I want to print till 10 numbers, print of I. So what it is going to happen is, okay, I'll save this first. Okay, so what it is going to do is, it will print from 0 to 9. As I discussed earlier, for loop always starts with 0 and it will exclude the ending value. So I'll show it right. So it is going to print from 0 to 9. So I want 10 also to be printed. So what I have to do, I need to print till, I need to print till 11. I'll just do it like this. So I'm going to have output from 0 to 11. So what if I want my numbers from 1 to 11? So in this case, 1 to 10 in this case, so I have to specify starting value also. So now my range parameter is taking two parameters, like I am giving starting value as well as I am giving stopping value. So instead of writing 10 plus 1, I'll directly write 11, which implies the loop is going to execute till 10. So now I am getting output from 1 to 10. And now we will also see the step, what it can do. So I want only odd numbers in the entered range. Provided condition, my loop starts from 1. So get all the odd numbers, I have to increment the value by 2 instead of incrementing by 1. So if I run this program, I will get directly the odd numbers present inside the range. So what if I want to get all the even numbers present inside the range? So I'll just write it as 0. So I'm going to get all the even numbers except 0 in the given range, right? So this is a brief about for loop in Python. Similarly, similar to the if condition, all the statements which are indented by a tab space will be considered as the statements that are going to be executed by the for loop. The statements which are written by breaking the indentation will not be inside the for loop, right? So the second loop we'll have is while loop. So while loop takes a condition and the loop gets executed until the condition become false. All the statements which are indented by one tab space inside the while loop are considered to be executed. Any statement which is written by breaking the indentation will be considered as the statement which is outside the while loop. So in for loop we have three things which are directly written in the first statement, the line which are writing for loop itself. They are starting value, stopping value and the incrementation value. The for loop is going to check whether I have reached my limit or not. But in while loop, we have to specify the condition. We have to increment the value if necessary, and we have to initialize the value. So the same program which I implemented using for loop If I have to implement while loop, I have to initially declare I is equal to either 0 or 1. I'll start with 0, and while I have to write I less than 11, I less than or equal to 10. Every time I have to print I value. After printing I value, I have to increment the value of I by 1. So this will give the same output which my for loop gave to me. So how the execution is happening? First of all, it will check whether the value of I is less than 11 or not. Surely 0 is less than 11. So I am going to execute the statement which is inside the loop. I am printing the value of I as 0. Now the second time I am going to increment the value of I by 1. I am going to get my value as 1. Again it checks for 1 less than 11 or not. So this condition will continue. When my value gets equal to 11, 11 less than or equal to 11 condition is false. So instead of executing the statements inside the loop, the control will be shifted outside the loop. As there are no statements outside the loop, my program is terminated by printing the 10 values which are required. Right, so this is the basic concept of conditional statements and loops in Python. In my next videos, I will mainly focus on few important and interesting examples which may include both conditional statements and looping. So thank you for watching this video. If you are new to my channel, do subscribe my channel, hit a like button, and do share with your friends. Thank you. Meet you in my next video.